Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time since I filmed a video. I know I've been MIA just because I haven't been feeling it and I'm like nah. But anyways, I'm coming back and today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys my labor and delivery story. So the last time I was here, I think I told you guys that I was a video about my husband, finding out that I'm pregnant. Now I have my son, he's officially here. You guys will see him after, but just kind of wanted to share my labor and delivery story because I believe it was a supernatural childbirth. So yeah, let me just jump into it. So before, I just kind of want to start off by saying in my second trimester, I was going through a lot of like fear about childbirth and giving birth. I just had a lot of thought about, oh my gosh, you know, what you see on TV, like, oh, it's going to be painful. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and it's so painful. I really wanted to have a natural childbirth, you know, no epidural. I wanted it to be fast and all that stuff. But I just watched so much videos on YouTube and I just became so fearful and so scared about like the whole process. And everybody tells you like, you know, it's the hardest part, like the labor part, right? And I just had so much fear going into it, so much fear. And then I happened to come across one video which is Ashley Empowers. I'll link the video in the description box below. But anyways, I watched her video and she kind of talked about how she had like this supernatural childbirth where her labor was fast and that she had no pain, like minimum pain. And she talked about a book she read. So the book she was talking about happened to be this book right here. It's called Supernatural Childbirth. So that's my son right here. So I happened to purchase the book based on, you know, her amazing video. I happened to purchase the book and I said, okay, let me read this book and let me see what it's all about in terms of, you know, preparing for my labor and delivery. So anyways, I got this book and I'm gonna tell you, like, as I was reading this book, like, it was life-changing. Like, honestly, this book really helped shift my mindset from being fearful of childbirth, and it shifted my mindset to have faith and believe in what you want. It shifted my mindset to believe that our body is made for this. It shifted my mindset to the point where I was like, God is going to be with me, like, don't have fear. And I just didn't let fear overtake me, because fear is something that is, you know, so strong going into childbirth. Like, oh my gosh, I'm fear of the pain. If you've had a child, you know what it feels like. You know, the fear of having into pain, the fear of the unknown. This book really helped me. It talks about how God has redeemed us from the curse. From, you know, when in the Bible it talks about how you know, because Eve ate the apple would be cursed. It talks about how we've been forgiven and redeemed. It talks about, you know, just declaring and speaking over what you want. It really breaks it down for you. So honestly, this book, I rave about it to everybody. I talk about it to everybody because reading this book really helped and changed my mindset. So after I read this book in my second trimester, I started going and believing that I want a unmedicated delivery. I want a fast labor, and, you know, I want kind of like a pain-free labor. You know, I don't want to feel the pain, because in this book, a supernatural birth is pretty much saying that it's a birth where, you know, God just takes control and you're not feeling pain. Honestly, this talks about you're not feeling pain. It talks about having fast labor. It talks about just declaring what you really want. So after I read this book, I started to believe, and I was a bit wishy-washy. I was like, like, can I really, you know, really ask for all these things? But I just started to believe in it. I just started going over it. In the book, it has prayers as well about, you know, declaring what you want for your labor. So there's a prayer in there that talks about like your labor, like, get into place at the right time. The baby will come into place at the right time. And my husband and myself, you know, took the prayers in this book and we read it over my stomach. We just read it in detail. And I just kind of explain this before I get into the details of the labor, because it all ties in together. But anyways, yeah, this book really just kind of helped. So now fast forward to the actual labor and delivery. It was Monday, April 15th, about 12 a.m. when I felt a contraction. I think I felt contractions on Sunday, but I was just like, I wasn't too sure. But Monday for sure, I felt a contraction and I was like, oh snap, this is different. Like, I felt a contraction, like I felt the pain. And it was 12 and I was like, okay, let me go upstairs, let me go shower, let me just prepare myself, you know what I mean, to make sure that everything is good, because I feel like the baby's gonna come real soon. And actually that morning, this might be TMI, but I passed the bloody show, so that's pretty much just a sign saying that you're going to go into labor soon. That's like your mucus plug coming out. So I kind of knew it was coming down, but I didn't know it was going to be so soon. So anyways, on Monday at 12 a.m. I had my first contraction and I felt it. So I took a shower, and then my midwife also told me that when you feel your first contractions, it's going to take a long time. Contractions usually come for about 15 to 20, they typically start around 15 to 20 minutes. She's like, don't worry, don't time it at that time, just make sure you rest because it's going to be intense. You can be in labor for a long time, so make sure you rest. So I kind of took her tips and I was like, okay, let me just prepare my body. I made sure that I packed everything in my hospital bag and made sure everything was ready. Then I came to bed. Then when I came to bed, you know, I kind of just napped for a bit. So around 2 a.m. I started to feel more contractions, and I was like, oh, okay, this is real. This is some real contractions. And they were coming about 2 to 3 minutes apart. And meanwhile, I told you, my midwife said the contractions would start every 15 to 20 minutes. And I started feeling contractions every 2 to 3 minutes. And I was like, this is weird. Like, why am I feeling things every 2 to 3 minutes? Like, I thought it was meant to be 15 minutes. Is this contractions? Like, what is this? I told my husband, I was like, can you get your phone and get your app out? Because I think I'm having contractions. So he got his phone out and kind of started timing them. And as he was timing them, it was like we were timing them, but we was not. And he was also getting ready for bed. And as he was getting ready for bed, I was looking at him like, oh my gosh, like, I think I'm about to go through some pain by myself. I was like, no, like, you're going to go to sleep. I'm going to be going through this pain by myself. And when I said that is when I felt like I heard God say, nah, Rachel, don't worry. I'm going to be with you. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. So once I kind of got that in, sorry, that's my little boy over there. Once I kind of got that going in, I had some scriptures that I put set aside to kind of help me through like the process. And the scripture that I have was, you know, God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. And I also had the scripture, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. So as soon as I started having contractions, I started to quote those scriptures, and I started to say that, you know, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of faith. And trust in the Lord with all your heart, meaning that trust in everything that I asked for in terms of like easygoing labor, trust that everything will be okay. So as I started to say that over and over again, I noticed that my contractions started to not feel as painful. And honestly, like, as crazy as it sounds, it's so true. Like, every time I had a contraction, I would say the scripture, okay, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Or I'll say, okay, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of faith. And that really helped me. I was holding my husband's hand and I was squeezing him, and every contraction I was saying that over and over again. Over and over again. And then it was happening for about an hour, and meanwhile they were having every 2 to 3 minutes, an hour, and I was like, okay, I'm still feeling the pain, but the scriptures were helping me. And then I went to the washroom, and when I went to the washroom, I noticed that my contractions were getting a little bit more intense, and I was like, oh gosh, like, I'm feeling the pain. And I was very scared about the next contraction. Like, every time I had a contraction, I'd be scared for the next contraction. And then it's like God was telling me, don't be fearful of the next contraction. Just deal with the contraction that you have going on before you move on to the next one. So I started to do that, and I started to really, really get in the zone and thinking about the scriptures. So then about, you know, maybe 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. No, 4 a.m. No, from about 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. I just zoned out, and I honestly could tell you that I did not feel contractions. My husband can tell you, and he said that I fell asleep and I was snoring, and he was confused, like, how are you snoring and you're going through contractions? I also told him that contractions are 15 to 20 minutes apart. He was so confused. He started googling on his phone. He's like, what does contractions feel like? He told me, like, because he watched a lot of YouTube videos with me, and he saw, like, you know, a lot of, like, when you're having contractions, you're screaming and, you know, you're having a hard time. And he knows my personality, and he was wondering, why am I not screaming? Like, why am I so calm? And I don't think he really realized that I was going in, like, having contractions. So anyways, I fell asleep for some reason. He told me I was snoring as I was having contractions, and I was like, wow, like, this is how you know God took over, because Lord. Anyways, at 7 a.m. I was like, my contractions became, I felt them, like, it wasn't painful, but it was intense. And I was like, nah, I think, like, I'm gonna call my midwife, because now the contractions are 2 to 3 minutes, and they're lasting for a longer period of time. So before they were like shorter, but now they're lasting for a longer period of time. And I think, like, this baby's gonna come real soon. So anyways, I called my midwife, and my midwife was like, okay, you know, just go take a shower, go take a bath, and if they calm down, then you should be okay and you can chill. But if they're intense, then give me a call back. So I went in and had a bath, and then she actually called me back, and she's like, you know what, the way that you sound, that they're so close, I'm gonna come and check you just to make sure. So I was like, okay. I was in the bath, and I was like, yeah, it's not really that intense, like it's kind of chill, like I'm not really feeling too much pain, but I'm feeling the contraction. So anyways, my midwife came, long story short, and she checked me, and when she checked me, like her mouth dropped, like she literally checked me. And meanwhile, when I told the midwife that, I told my husband I'm calling the midwife, he kind of woke up, and he was like, I told him go put the stuff in the car because I think I'm gonna have the baby today. And I was like, and he was kind of moving slow, like he wasn't too sure. He was like, yeah, like you don't seem like you're in pain, you don't seem like you're having contractions, I don't know if the baby's coming today. And I was like, no, trust me, the baby's coming today. So anyways, he put the stuff in the car, and then when the midwife came, she checked me, and my husband thought he was going to work on this day. Like he had in his mindset that when I'm having a baby, he's going to work. So anyways, the midwife came and she checked me, and when she checked me, her mouth dropped, and she was like, Rachel, oh my gosh, you're a lot further than I thought. And I was like, just praying, at least let me be 3 centimeters. Let me be 3 centimeters. She checked, and she was like, Rachel, you are 8 centimeters dilated. She's like, do you want to have the baby here, or are we going to the hospital? And I was like, what? 8 centimeters? And at that point, my husband was like, okay, we're having a baby today. So anyways, she said, okay, let's rush to the hospital. She kind of told me that you need to hurry up because you don't want to have the baby in the car. And I was like, all right, let's go. So anyways, we got to the hospital. I got to the hospital around 10 a.m. And when we got to the hospital, my contractions began to intensify again, a bit more. But she was like, she checked me again when I got to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, I was 9 centimeters dilated. And my midwife was so shocked. They were like, how is this happening? And I can honestly tell you, like, my pain wasn't too intense. Like, there was pain, but it was like I had a contraction, I feel the pain, and I'm good. Like, it wasn't really anything like so intense. And that's what I told you, that's what I prayed for. I prayed for minimal pain, I prayed for no epidural, and I prayed for God to help me during my delivery. So anyways, I got there, she checked me, I was 9 centimeters, and then it took from about 10 a.m. to 11:15 for me to start pushing. And then the pushing, I felt the pushing, I'm not gonna lie, the pushing was probably the most intense part. But again, just using the pain, just using the contractions to push out my son. And he came at 12:37. So honestly guys, it was an amazing labor and delivery. Like, as I was telling you, I really honestly hardly felt any pain. Like, breastfeeding was a lot more painful to me than the contractions were. Like, that's how I can explain it. And it was because I really prayed about unmedicated fast labor. Like, my labor, he told me from the moment I called her to the moment I had him, it took about 5 hours. So my labor was about 5 hours. This is the first time, I'm a first time mom. This is the first time I'm having a child. So I just kind of wanted to share this story with you guys to let you know that, you know, you can really have labor, you know, if you really pray about it. This book really helped me in terms of having a supernatural childbirth. And it's something that, like, you know, obviously I'm not here to rave about, oh, I did such an amazing. I'm here to share that, you know, when you put God first, God can really help you, and it's God that helped me. Like, I don't take any credit for my labor and delivery story. I give credit all to God because God really helped me. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Hopefully it makes sense. And yeah, that is my labor and delivery story. I will be here on YouTube, guys. I'm coming back, and this time I mean it. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of, you know, mummy content. I really enjoy this mummy content, you know, and just enjoying him. So you're going to see a lot more from me. But anyways, if you have any questions for me, just leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to connect with you guys. And that's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys all in my next video. Bye.